Today I'm going to be upgrading my cooling system, the radiator and the oil cooler for my M3. No, not the V10 M3 that's behind me, but rather my daily M3. Because daily drivers, lives matter as well. Welcome back to Yev's Builds, dude. Look, man, before we get going and actually jump into the job, I want to say a huge thank you to Ben from Rogue Engineering. Bro, I appreciate you. Thank you for helping me source the CSF. Dude, if you guys don't know Rogue and you have an M car, hit Ben up at Rogue Engineering. He will be more than happy to help you out, get anything you need for your car performance-wise or non-performance, you know, maintenance stuff. He knows his craft, he knows what he's doing, and on top of that, he's just a car nerd like myself and probably you watching. So, dude, just hit him up, give him a shout, let him know that I sent you here, and dude, get some stuff for your M cars, man. Thankfully to Ben, I was able to source the CSF oil cooler, giant big boy compared to the stock one. We're gonna pull my stock one out here shortly and compare the two, but dude, this is already, I can tell this is much bigger than the original one. The radiator, on the other hand, about the same size, but it is fully aluminum, and it's just, it's amazing. I mean, the job quality on this, the welds, everything is legit, and it should be just plug and play, so let's just jump straight into it, dude. In case you're wondering why I'm replacing both the oil cooler and the radiator, well, last summer I was having really high oil temperatures, and I didn't like that. It was getting past the 210, just daily. I didn't even use AC once last summer because whenever I hit the AC button, it would start to overheat. It wouldn't quite get to the red, but it would get really hot. Not to my liking hot, you know what I mean? So this summer I said no more, we're upgrading this. My thermostat and my water pump were replaced roughly 2 years ago. Those are still working fine, but just the temperatures outside last summer got real hot, and we're avoiding that this summer, so let's get to it. And to get to this point, fairly easy, honestly, just a bunch of plastics, a bunch of clips. There's a few of these little guys to unclip all that plastic shielding and whatnot, all the ducting. The fan shroud, quite simple. If you have the proper tools, it's even easier, but if you don't, you can use a giant 1 1/4 inch wrench and a flathead. Jam the flathead in between one of these nuts and the actual water pump pulley, and just do clockwise because it's righty loosey, lefty tighty, so it's reverse thread. To get that fan shroud off, there's going to be a Torx bit right about there. It's going to be a T25 right underneath there. There's gonna be a T25 right here, and then 2 on the bottom, 1 on each corner. Of course, beforehand, you're gonna need to remove the actual shield, and that's gonna be held on by a few 8mm bolts, 1 on each corner, 3 in the center. So that's pretty much it. To take this shield off, however, it is pretty simple, looks like. It looks like there's a Phillips screw right there, and a Torx screw on the passenger side for some reason, but yeah, shouldn't be too bad. Oh, and there's a little Torx here, a little Torx there. Okay. Not too bad, pretty straightforward. Let's get on with it. Nice, got an armpit full of sand, cool. Looks like the 2 side bolts, the Phillips and the Torx T25 on the other side, the passenger side, they both hold up the entire oil cooler to the radiator, I'm assuming. Before we unscrew that, we gotta unscrew this little guy right here to actually get all the oil out. If you're trying to do an oil change, might as well do it. I will try to see if I can get away without doing it. Probably gonna be about a quart of oil in here, so I'll just top it off and call it good, because I just did my oil change literally 2 weeks ago. These 2 hoses right here, these 2, you know, 45s, these are gonna be the return and the feed lines for the oil cooler. It's held by a T40 screw, and you remove that, there's gonna be a couple O-rings we're gonna replace, and you're gonna have some drainage, so get ready to get a little bit dirty. There it is. Now that this bad boy's off, I am not sure if we're gonna be reusing this ducting over here, but I'll take it off just to see. But man, look how nasty and dirty that cooler is, huh? No wonder my temperatures were a little bit higher than normal. So, okay, cool. Before I put that back on, we're gonna have to drain the coolant from the radiator, of course. And I already put the little catch can in the bottom. Now what's left to do is to take a flathead, pry this little piece up right here, and we're gonna pull it off and release all the coolant, baby. The reason we're going to the passenger side lower hose and not the top one is because, well, you want as much coolant to leave as possible. That way you choose the lowest point and hope for the best. There it goes. Okay, buddy. And now you wait. Right now would be a really good time to replace your busted hoses if you need to. I'm not going to, just because I did a similar job a few years ago. I had to take the head off and I replaced the water pump and the thermostat and all these hoses, so they're still brand new. This one you got to be real careful with because it's very fragile, this little piece right here, and it broke on me, so I had to replace this as well. But yeah, just take your time and pop the top hose off and we're gonna get with it. After you get the top hose off, take a T45 socket, unscrew this little cap and this little cap right here. Those two are pretty much bushings that hold the radiator up, and your radiator should be pretty much free for removal. There's actually a screw right here holding the power steering lines. We want to unscrew that. That looks like a T25 maybe? Yep, and this little screw right here was a T25. And now I feel like we should be good to pull the sucker off. Something like that. And that's the old one, and literally at this point it's all in reverse. What we have just done, everything is now in reverse. So I mean, if we don't talk about the oil cooler, then what good does it do? I mean, this stock oil cooler is literally this wide right here. This one is twice the thickness, right? This is twice the width of a stock oil cooler. I better have good temperatures this summer, dude, seriously. Looks like we're not gonna be using the shroud right here. Obviously, before we put on the oil lines, the feed and the return into the new cooler, we gotta replace those O-rings. I got these from BMW, so let's get on with the montage, baby. And once everything's pretty much put back together, I'm gonna leave out these plastic pieces right here for now, just because there's the bleeding screw right here, and we're gonna have to bleed the coolant through this. So start filling it up with distilled water, half and half mixed with actual coolant. If you actually care about your Beamer, use original BMW coolant. It's worth the price. It's not even too expensive, to be honest, but the stuff is not pre-mixed. So this is very pure concentrate of coolant. You mix it half and half with distilled water and this, right? I already poured in about half, roughly, of distilled water. The rest is concentrate. Okay, that's about half. I'll pour the rest of the half into a gallon, and that way I can see how much we're actually pouring in. Also, right now would be a really good time to check before we actually even start the car if there's any leaks or not. And once you have this little peeper here sticking out about roughly that much, you can stop pouring coolant, because we're gonna start up the car, and obviously all the air pockets are gonna start going away. This is gonna drop down, let it warm up, let it idle, and we'll just take care of this and make sure that this is to level. Before I start it, however, since I did my oil cooler, I'm gonna add a little bit of oil. I'll just do half a quart just to be safe, and we should be good, honestly. You're not a real E46 M3 owner if you don't have a quart of oil laying where the battery tray is in the Euro cars. All right, no leaks, that's good. Everything is dry. Now we wait till the temperatures warm up, the coolant starts kicking in, it starts going through the entire system, and that's when you're gonna see this thing start dropping. Now that the coolant temperature is up to temp, I'm gonna start bleeding the screw. I'm gonna unscrew it just to bleed all the air bubbles in the system. You do that until you have a straight stream instead of bubbly stuff like this, right? That's bubbly. All that is bubbles coming out. Until it's all solid, without any bubbles, that's when you stop bleeding it and you should be good. You see how there's still air bubbles coming through? It's been running for about 10 minutes at this point, and it's getting less and less bubbly. It might not look like it, but it was even worse when I just started doing this. And this, pretty much when it's just a consistent flow instead of air bubbles, you're good to go. Yeah, so something like that. That's a real good flow. Consistent and good. You're ready. But keep in mind that this entire time, you better watch this little floaty over here, because if it goes below minimum, you're gonna catch even more air bubbles into the system, and you don't need that, because we're preventing this. We're getting rid of all the bubbles. So keep topping this off. To be completely honest with you, dude, that's it. That's all it takes to replace an oil cooler and a radiator on an E46 M3. And if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I know it's cliche, and I know I say this literally every single video, but it helps. It really helps. And dude, we just have a bunch of stuff coming, dude. The E39 M5, you know what I mean? The E46 M3, the V10 E46 M3, dude, just a whole bunch of stuff. So see you soon. Peace.